What do we mean by reusable learning objects? Reusable learning objects are objects that are available at a central place. These are properly tagged with metadata so that they can be searched for very effectively and used in a mix and match manner. Primary content for these RLOs is developed only once. Content is then repurposed into many formats, as you will see in the later screens. So let us quickly look at what reusable learning objects are and their characteristics. I would like to borrow the definition of reusable learning objects from the pioneers of this concept, Chuck Barrett and Lee Alderman, in their book named RLOs. They say that reusable learning object is an independent collection of content and media elements, a learning approach, which means the interactivities, learning architecture and context, and metadata for storage and searching. So reusable learning objects have essentially three basic characteristics. There is an independent content and media element, and instructional or learning approach in it in terms of interactivity, the way it is structured, and context, and there is a piece of metadata that is used to store, search, and retrieve it. The characteristics of RLOs. The first one is an RLO should be objective-based, and each learning objective is desired to meet only one single learning objective. This is the first characteristic. And the next one is that RLOs have to be context-free, which means that a series of elements combined should form a meaningful structure and be context-free so that each learning objective can stand alone, providing an independent learning experience. In other words, one RLO cannot be dependent on another RLO. It has to stand on its own, and the context should lie within the RLO and not outside it. And of course, keeping in view the best learning design principles, one of the essential characteristics of RLO is that it has to be interactive. RLOs should engage learners by offering interactivities to meet the learning objectives. Another aspect of the RLO is that it should be self-descriptive. It should be associated with the search data or metadata, so that learners and authors can search for them in the central repository. Finally, each learning object should be capable of either standing alone or standing along with the other learning objects. Single-sourced, that is, each learning object is written in such a way that multiple authors, in multiple learning environments, can use them in multiple delivery formats. And it should be format-free. To be reused in multiple delivery media, learning objects should be created free of look and feel formatting, so that they can be viewed in different kinds of devices. So essentially, what we are saying is that RLO is an independent unit of learning with so many characteristics, which allows reusing of content. If we take the course at the highest level of architecture, we have modules in the course, and a course may have a course introduction and modules 1, 2, 3, and so on, and a course assessment and a summary. And at the next level, or a deeper level of hierarchy, it would be that a module will have lessons and module assessments, summary and introduction, and likewise a lesson will have topics along with the description. I mean the overview, assessments, and the summary. So we can say that RLOs would comprise modules and lessons, and the topics and the elements would become what we call the reusable learning information objects. This means that they are too small to be called RLOs, but they form the components of making the RLOs. Therefore, RLOs can be a lesson or a module. The element of an RLO can be a piece of content, or a piece of interactivity, or a graphic image. So from there on, it builds on to become a course. Therefore, when we talk about reusability, we talk at the level of a lesson and a module. At a very high level, we have training need analysis and business analysis, identifying the kind of training that is required and the funds and decisions committed to this venture. The learning designing team will then see the existing content. But if you think that the RLO structure is new, then there is no existing content. If content is already in place, then they will go through the existing content. Of course, after setting the learning objectives of the course, if they don't have the required content, they will get the content sourced from outside their organization's environment, and then proceed with writing the content for the course. In this kind of scenario, the content is written only once in a particular kind of template. The whole idea is not to duplicate the effort. So, if there is a course on, let's say, Six Sigma or lean manufacturing, it is first decided whether there is a requirement for this course. And then, once the learning objectives are set and the content is sourced, instructional designers will have to write the content in a way that will be preset and in predetermined format. What I mean is a template, so that the template will be the basic document for all other outputs to originate from. For example, in the next stage, as you can see, the developers will take this content from the master source template and publish it into, let's say, a participant's guide or a facilitator's guide and handouts. Or they can be developed into eLearning or mLearning courses or any similar content from that single source of content. Once this is done at the second block, it goes on to be served to the learners where the administration takes place. That is, tracking, hosting, and other similar tasks. So we have three things here. This is the overall high-level block diagram. We have a big component of instructional design. We have the development part and the administration part. Usually, the development part is done using an LCMS because it is easier to use this tool than other independent authoring tools like Lectora. This being the overview, let us go on to the next slide. Whenever we have the delivery options, the idea is that these options should be able to support instructor-led training. As I mentioned earlier, the main outputs that support instructor-led training are Participant's Guide, Facilitator's Guide, or Trainer's Guide, and then we have the handouts, PowerPoint text, which are generally used in classrooms. And then we have eLearning and the combination of eLearning courses. I mean, the multimedia pieces, as well as the instructor-led training output. So they do support a large number of delivery options.